Hello and welcome to COVID Conversations here on WNCu 90.7 FM. We're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm your host, Kimberley Cartwright. I'm the News and Public Affairs Director here at WNCu. And we're using the Zoom platform to talk about how COVID-19 is affecting our world. The global pandemic brought home the idea of close to home parks as critical to communities' quality of life. And during the crisis, people have gone to their parks for fresh air, for exercise, for yoga, for meditation, and then most of all, a sense of peace. And here today to talk about downtown Durham, North Carolina's go-to park is none other than Erin Kauffman. And Erin is the executive director for Durham Central Park. Hi, Erin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh man, thank you so much. I know that you guys are really busy trying to keep the park up and at 'em. So thank you for
Always.
your time being with us today. First of all, I want you to talk about Durham Central Park and its amenities. What are they?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'll start by kind of describing Durham Central Park. So it's a small 5-acre urban park, kind of near the center of downtown Durham. Um, it is part of the Durham Parks and Rec system, and there's like 65 or so parks in that system. But this park also is associated with a nonprofit organization. I'm the executive director of that nonprofit. In many ways, we're like a Friends of the Park organization. So we raise money to improve the park, to program the park, to keep things running, and we also work really closely with Parks and Rec. So it's a really special place that gets a lot of love and attention from all aspects of the city, all parts of the city. So it's like I said, it's a 5-acre park. Kind of the biggest thing that you first see when you come into the park is a big L-shaped pavilion, and that is where the Saturday Durham Farmers Market happens. Saturday and Wednesday Durham Farmers Market happens, and then all the different kinds of events that you could possibly imagine. We have we have food truck rodeos. Our organization puts on food truck rodeos. We also have our kids' 4th of July parade coming up where kids decorate their bikes and then we parade around the park, and it's adorable. And then we have popsicles. And we also have partnered with WNCu to put on our the playlist concert series first Friday of the month from May to October. So those are some of the things that we do in that particular pavilion, but the park is much more than the pavilion. We have a kind of like a play mound. It's a lot of boulders and things for kids to climb, and slides and things for them to hang on. We have the Durham Skate Park is in Durham Central Park. And we also have a bunch of climbable statues for kids to climb on and explore the little section of the Ellerby Creek that goes through Durham Central Park. And along with that, we have lots of gardens and shady areas for people to picnic and hang out and just enjoy nature in a very busy and growing downtown area.
It is busy and it is growing. And I just like to say, I love Durham Central Park, especially on Saturday mornings when the pop-up farmers market comes. It's very exciting, lots of hustle and bustle. It just brings a whole lot of energy to downtown Durham. So how has the pandemic affected the operation of Durham Central Park?
In a lot of ways, and we're still kind of figuring it out even 2 years later. So when the pandemic first hit in March of 2020, I feel like I and many other people were thinking, oh, this is just going to be a couple weeks. We'll cancel a few events, no problem. And then we all came to the reality. It's going to last a long time. So in March and April of 2020, we basically canceled everything. We canceled all of so one of the things that supports our organization is that we rent out the pavilion for groups to have events. So there's all kinds of like markets and concerts and weddings and parties and get-togethers and you name it, that happens in Durham Central Park, and that really does support the operations of the park and the beautification of the park. So all of that got canceled, and that really cut into our budget. So that kind of changed some things, but at the same time, the right at the beginning, the mayor did close down all city facilities. So the pavilion and the playground were closed for a few months, during 2020. Then outdoor gathering sizes started to get to like 10 people or 25 people. And so people felt more comfortable coming out to the park and, you know, meeting friends and just like sitting outside, like getting out of their apartments, getting out of their houses and letting their kids run around and play. So by May, I remember driving through Foster Street on a Sunday afternoon, and the park was just full of people. And I don't remember that kind of just natural use of the park beforehand, because it was always so programmed and, you know, so like there's going to be this on Sunday and this is happening on Thursday and Friday and this and that. And it was really wonderful to see so many people being outside and enjoying the space that then people started to want to have smaller gatherings at the park. And, you know, we would rent the pavilion for a day, and there was a day rate and that kind of stuff. And, you know, I was like, we can't charge somebody who wants to have a 1 hour yoga class a day rate. We need to really be thoughtful about how we charge people to use the pavilion so that it can be more flexible. And so we started doing like an hourly rate. So if somebody wanted to reserve the space to you know, have their book club get together, they knew that it would be available. They knew that it would be set aside for them, and they could do it for like $15 an hour or something like that. And because we knew that, you know, we're not going to charge people a lot of money when only 10 people can get together and they want to reserve a space. So we did that kind of stuff. We were thoughtful about hourly rates, and that has continued now. It's different. So weekdays are less money than weekends, and winter is less money than summer. So we really have tried to figure out ways to accommodate the community need, so that the price to rent the park is more flexible. And that's been great. People have really responded and love it. And we can do multiple events on a day. There's like Zumba classes on Sunday mornings. There's some yoga classes. There's all kinds of like little things that we can put in here and there between like a food truck rodeo or like the Taste of Soul event or the farmer's market or a wedding. And so it's pretty cool how people really see Durham Central Park as a place to get together.
How do you make sure that the park is accessible though during COVID-19? And I mean, are there any strict like rules that are posted maybe somewhere that people have to follow to be able to come out and recreate?
Well, we just follow the city rules. And so there aren't any city mask mandates or gathering mandates anymore. You know, we followed what Parks and Rec was doing. There were some signs about distancing, when that was more of a requirement. But in terms of other ways that we work to make it accessible, we noticed, you know, people wanted to be out in the park and hang out under the pavilion. And, you know, if the sun sets at 7 o'clock, then that cuts out the possibility for people to be outside and feel safe. So one of the things that we did was we put the pavilion lights on a timer. So they would come on when the sun went down, and then turn off around 10 o'clock. So people could have a space downtown to come outside and, you know, exercise or something like that with a friend after the sun went down. So that was one of the things that we did, to make the space more usable for more amount of time.
So,
And,
mhm.
yeah.
So are you back to full capacity of service now that people are getting out and about more, or, you know, are
Yes.
there still some restrictions in place?
there are no outside restrictions in place anymore. And like I said, we've been following what the city and the county have had. And yes, the park is back to normal operations and perhaps beyond normal operations. It is, everybody wants to have an outdoor event, everybody. And so it is just bonkers how many people have been getting in touch with me, how many events that have been happening at the park, and every aspect of city services that goes into some of these events, like the special events permits from the police. They're like, we've had more than we've ever had. And I was talking to some people in solid waste, and they're like, we have more requests for trash cans than we've ever had. It's hard to keep up. And sometimes I talk to people from Parks and Rec who reserve other pavilions, and I'm like, I've been sending people your way, and they're like, we've been sending people your way. So everybody wants to do stuff outside, and it's just been very, very busy and hard to keep up with. But it's really gratifying that people want to be outside and want to gather, and that they feel safe and comfortable doing it in parks.
So it seems like the COVID disaster has brought a blessing to the park system for people to be able to come out and enjoy. Do you see anticipate a slowdown anytime soon, except maybe for the onset of cold weather?
I have in some ways just given up forecasting the future because I have no idea. One of the really interesting things, so I mean, a lot of more people are using the park, and so there's a lot of wear and tear. So this year we've been focusing on doing some upgrades and improvements, and maybe just regular maintenance stuff. Like we painted the pavilion, we've been fixing the playground. And one of the really cool things that is sort of a result of the pandemic is people want to volunteer for things outside. So we've been having a lot of like volunteer cleanup work days on Saturdays. We do them about twice a month. We're only doing them once a month during the summer because we're so busy. But we've lots of groups that come out and want to volunteer. And so people are getting out there and pulling weeds and cutting brush and replanting stuff and mulching stuff. And so it's been really cool to see the community come out and come together to not just use the park, but also beautify the park and like feel a sense of ownership of the park because they can come and make a difference.
So can you talk about like the progression of the pop-up that happens on Saturdays at Central Park? Okay,
yeah,
I can go there today and there's absolutely nothing, and then on Saturday morning it's a city, a village.
It's a whole thing. So actually the pavilion was built with the Durham Farmers Market in mind. They had set up in various parking lots around the neighborhood for a lot of years before then. And then they started working with Central Park and some other organizations and designed the pavilion. And so farmers and crafters from about 70 miles outside of Durham, they all come in and they set up their tents and tables and their wares, and from 8 to noon on Saturday mornings, it's just a bustling place. And from there, there's a Durham Farmers Market, but also right next door, also in the park, is the Durham Craft Market, and they're artists and crafters from the area with a really cool selection of things to buy. And then on the other side, up Foster Street, is Ceci's Art Gallery, and she has a Saturday morning market with more artists and some food trucks. So you just come downtown and you can get your vegetables for the week. You can buy an ostrich egg. I know it's a new farm coming, and
I want one.
Ostrich egg. It's so cool. But so last weekend I was like, okay, I gotta get a birthday present for my mom. I'm gonna go to the craft market, and I'm not like a regular craft market shopper, but I'm very much aware of it. And so it felt really cool to like just be able to go and find my mom a really beautiful gift from an artist who's local. So it comes up, and then boom, at 1 o'clock, it is all gone. It's like tumbleweeds, how quickly they they pop it up and then take it right on down.
Yeah. So how has construction around the park impacted the park setting and system.
Well,
And there's definitely a different vibe because people actually live in the corridor around Central Park.
yeah. So that has been so before I was the director of Durham Central Park, I was the manager of the Durham Farmers Market. So I've seen it from 2006 to now, and the change is amazingly drastic. So during the construction, it's always loud and messy. And there's often street closures and it's frustrating. But we have a great relationship with the city, so we can have a good relationship with the developers and the contractors who are doing the work, so we can all be in communication and do our as best as we can to anticipate what's coming and know what's happening. So there's pluses and minuses with all the development. It certainly has changed what is around the park. Many of the developers have invested a lot in Durham Central Park since we're their neighbors. So we have had a lot of improvements because of the developers. They've built sidewalks. They helped us build the playground that we have now. They've given us money for art. We've been able to plant over 100 trees in the past couple of years because of funds from the developers. So they see the value in improving Central Park, and whenever they come to the city and the city comes to us, our whole thing is we want the improvements to be good for everybody, not just the new neighbors. So fund this sidewalk project because it's really hard to raise money for a sidewalk, and it's really important to have safe sidewalks for people to be able to navigate the park and not have to walk through like a muddy field or something like that. So I mean, it's not like it. I don't know how to describe the building of a sidewalk. It's not a sexy project, but it's really critical, and people don't really notice it, but then they benefit from it. And trees, people really will benefit from the trees that have been planted. There's bits and bits of more shade every year, and it's been interesting to watch new neighbors moving in next to the park. I mean, our whole mission at Durham Central Park is to be a place for everybody to feel welcome. And so a lot of what we do in terms of programming is we really want to offer as much free programming as possible. So there's no barriers to entry. People can come and enjoy it no matter who they are or where they came from. If they come from Cary or Greensboro or the building next door, or anywhere in Durham, people can come in and enjoy the space. And that's really, really important to us. And that's one of the things that we communicate as much as possible with the neighbors and the developers is we're not your backyard. We're everyone's backyard. We're everyone's park. We're not your park, solely and specifically. And a lot of the neighbors have really, they really love that. And many have become donors of the park and have become volunteers because they are so appreciative of the fact that we're such a welcoming space and work with all kinds of groups to have really interesting programming in the park. There are some people who are a little grumpy about it, but that you can't make everybody happy. And our goal is to have a really welcoming and wide open park for everybody to enjoy.
It's beautiful. Erin Kauffman is the executive director for Durham Central Park in Durham. And I want to thank you so much for coming in and spending time with me. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you on July 1st at our concert. It's gonna be so much fun. I love the concerts. There's so much joy in the air the whole time. That's absolutely my favorite part.
I know, so much energy. And again, thank you so much. And I want to thank you, audience, for watching via YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as listening to WNCu 90.7 FM. Be sure to like us. We want you to follow us. We want you to subscribe to our pages so that you can see more of our archive shows. I'm Kimberly Pierce Cartwright, your host, and thank you very much for tuning in.